this is Animat, and welcome back to the Muppet Vlog. Now this time we're going to be looking at episode 16 of the third season of The Muppet Show, which features the one and only Danny Kaye. Now even though he is not as big of a name as he is today, back then he was huge and very multi-talented, may I add. Danny Kaye is an actor, a comedian, and a singer. And he has appeared in numerous feature films. Some of these include The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, The Inspector General, Hans Christian Andersen, and White Christmas. And he has also received 2 Golden Globes for his works on the Riviera and Me and My Colonel. But at the same time, as he is a very talented man in the entertainment industry, he is also a very prominent humanitarian. He is known to be the first ambassador at large at UNICEF, and he even received the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award back at the Oscars, which, looking into the date, I believe it was in 1981 that he received the award. So this is a man who has certainly left a great impact in the world, and someone who was truly devoted to give everybody a smile in any single way possible. Now, going into the episode that he appeared in, I gotta say, this is actually very interesting, because this is the kind of episode where normally I would go and pick out the flaws on what the problem with this episode is, because it has a few issues that I notice that are often pretty common with some of these episodes of The Muppet Show. But for some reason, somehow, I am actually perfectly okay with it. This is the kind of episode where somehow I can forgive the flaws because it actually came out as a very well done episode. I highly enjoyed it, more than most episodes from this season, surprisingly enough. It was really weird, I gotta say, because here's the thing. It doesn't really focus on a specific plot in general. It actually does have a pretty good idea regarding Statler and Waldorf, where it actually began, like, during the intro, you actually just see Statler and Waldorf. They didn't comment or anything, they just, like, stand up and leave. You know, and this is not the first time that they've done that in the intro of The Muppet Show, but this is one episode in which they were actually committed. They were legit doing it. They did not even appear on, on the episode at all. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. I didn't mean it like that. Like, they didn't appear in their box throughout the entire episode, down to the point where Floyd has to double check, and he and Janice ended up sitting at the box just to, like, get that Statler and Waldorf experience. Where are the old guys? Well, apparently they were outside because they did not want to watch the episode, that badly, because they hated the special guest star, which, it has a pretty interesting twist at the end, but yeah, they pretty much, like, they were so committed to not watch it because they hated the special guest star, to the point that, like, they would just sit outside in the cold, just making their own little comments outside. And, like, even though it sounds a bit sad, but the way that they execute it, it's definitely hilarious. It's a lot of fun, and Statler and Waldorf are alright regardless. But yeah, like, even though they didn't focus on it a lot, they only looked upon it only a few occasions, like, a lot less than any other episode of The Muppet Show where they would focus on the narrative, but it's still enjoyable. And the things that happen in between are still highly entertaining. There's still a lot of fun to watch that it kind of makes it forgiving in a way. For starters, let me talk about the special guest, Danny Kaye. Oh my god, he is so entertaining and he is so fun to watch. You could tell that this man has this very high energy that plays off very well with all the other Muppets. And one of the highlights, I would say, is when he and Miss Piggy would sing Cheek to Cheek. Now, first off, I just want to mention this. The only issue that I have with that song is that I can no longer look at it as a pleasant song. I can no longer look at it as, like, this cutesy little fun romantic kind of song. You know, for me, like, whenever I hear that song, it's pretty dark. This is what happens when you watch way too many times looking at The Green Mile. You get, like, you kind of, like, you look at that, you hear that song, and all you can think of is just you can only just think of like the sad moments, like heaven, I'm in heaven. It really does. Like the Green Mile does things to you. But anyways, the comedic aspect where you see kind of this rivalry between Danny Kaye and Miss Piggy, like you could tell they're trying to fight against each other. It's wonderful chemistry. It's a lot of fun, and it really brings out this not only like well executed performance, but also just this really enjoyable and like hilarious skit. It was actually a lot of fun to watch and very well placed. But there is also another time when Danny Kaye appeared, and it doesn't happen all the time, but it was with the Swedish Chef, where he would actually appear as the Swedish Chef's uncle. And that, again, this is another one where you could tell there's actually wonderful chemistry between the Swedish Chef and Danny Kaye playing as the Swedish Chef's uncle. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's absolutely hilarious, and definitely one of the better skits featuring the Swedish Chef. I mean, like, already in itself, the Swedish Chef is one of the funniest bits in the Muppet Show, but like this as a highlight, it's golden. It really is golden. And finally, the other appearance that Danny Kaye has done, this is actually very interesting because he would go and sing the song Inchworm, which was actually a song that he sang in one of his movies, Hans Christian Andersen. But what I find to be very interesting is that this is not the first time that the Muppet Show actually had a moment to sing Inchworm. If I go all the way back, let's see, all the way back into season 1, I'm trying to find the special guest star here. Let's see, I reckon, I know that it's like, yes, okay, Charles Aznavour. Now, the last time that they actually had a finale in which the Muppets would sing Inchworm was actually with Charles Aznavour. But it's actually very interesting that they would go back and re-sing Inchworm once again, but with Danny Kaye. Now, it has happened before where the Muppet Show would repeat some skits before, like Fozzie Bear singing Hi Dilly Dee. Like, they would actually recycle it like a couple of times beforehand, but this is the first time that it's not really that they recycled the skit, but it was more that like they sang the song again, but in a different fashion, and that is actually very interesting, I might add. It's honestly, it's very well executed. It's really nice, but you know, it gives you an interesting contrast in a way of how the Muppets kind of evolved. Because you see with the Charles Aznavour bit, he was mostly in the environment that the song is mostly based on, where he's outside next to a tree and there's a school, like there's a little school in the background where you hear the kids singing 2 and 2 are 4, 4 and 4 are 8, and all that kind of stuff. But then with the Muppets, with this episode with Danny Kaye, it's actually a very more common background for the Muppets, where they're all just in, like, they're all backstage, and you got all the various Muppets coming in, some of the more popular ones, and some of the more obscure ones as well, all in the background singing 2 and 2 are 4, 4 and 4 are 8, and then you have Danny Kaye in the middle, which was honestly really interesting, and it's kind of a fascinating contrast to see, like, kind of the progression of what they've done. But you know, it's actually, honestly, as a Muppet fan, I find this very intriguing that they would recycle for it. But it's very understandable, considering this song would be more suited with Danny Kaye, since he did sing it in one of his movies. But at the same time, there are some other stuff that do happen at the same time. There are some other things, like you have it actually starts out with some Muppets singing Aquarius, and suddenly they have this really long hair, and I didn't know if it was intentional or not, because like you got like these proper well-suited people singing Aquarius, and then suddenly they gain this really long hair, and it's gone to the point where like the hair is like all over the place, we're down to the point, like, it covers everything where we no longer see the Muppet and now they look like Cousin It. But yeah, at the end you can tell it's actually a part of the joke because you hear them going, it's like, where's the barber? And are there any other stuff? I need to double check. Oh yeah, oh my god, this was, okay, there is one that was actually really weird. It actually starts out with this construction worker, like he's on the top of a building and he's just eating his lunch, and then suddenly his food comes to life and they do this little tap dancing number, and like he was scared at first, but then he was getting into it, and the whole punchline is that suddenly he gets eaten by his lunchbox. It was, honestly, I didn't know how to feel about it. I was just watching this like, this is just weird. I was expecting one thing, but it always ends up going into another. It's like, what the heck just happened there? So yeah, that was honestly one of the weirdest moments of the Muppet Show I've seen so far. Any other ones? Well, there is actually this very cute moment with the Flying Zucchini Brothers where, like, they got the classic skit of, like, they go like on a very high platform and they want to jump out of it and land on a bucket of water. But mostly the punchline is just Beauregard coming in going, hey, my bucket of water! So that's actually another cute one. And then there's also another bit in between, which is jogging, where you mostly see a guy singing a song about jogging, and you know, it was actually a well-done number. Nothing much to complain about it. You know, it's kind of like the, you know, a very nicely done filler musical number for the Muppets. So, overall, I have to say that despite that it does have a bit of flaws, that technically it would be a bit more interesting if we saw Statler and Waldorf's side of the story a bit more. Like, that would have been nice, but I would say everything about this episode actually works. And I thought about it, and the reason why I highly enjoyed this episode is because there isn't a single episode that's inferior to another, or that there's one moment that's superior than the rest. I think that's what really makes this episode stand out, is that every single aspect of it works. And despite this episode might have some flaws, it's easily forgivable because it gave us pretty much 22 minutes of great Muppet entertainment. Everything about it works. All the musical numbers are a lot of fun. The Muppets comedy is fantastic. Danny Kaye was a phenomenal guest star. Just everything about this episode really does work. I would probably consider it a highlight of this episode, and something that is probably worth watching for anyone, because this is pretty much where nothing here doesn't work, actually. Like, every aspect of this episode is highly entertaining, it's a lot of fun, and honestly, I would, you know, this is the kind, like, I would love to just sit back and watch it again. It really is a great and fun episode. So, yeah, overall, I would say I highly enjoyed this episode. But anyways, that is pretty much it for this episode of the Muppet Vlog. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. And we'll see if the fun will be continuous. Not just in this episode, but with the following episodes to come. But we will only know until next time. So, see you later, dudes!